So welcome to another edition of the Influence Global podcast, and I'm always excited to meet my guests, but I'm particularly excited to meet two lovely ladies from Scotland, and they are the co-founders of Aquarius Creatives, and that is the wonderful Amy and Kirsten. So welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us on.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. But why I'm particularly interested is because you have just completed a BBC documentary, which is effectively an inside look at your agency, which is, if I'm right in thinking, certainly in the UK, it's the first of its kind. So it's going to be really, really exciting. You were just telling me off before we recorded this that you were excited but a little bit apprehensive. Just to give you some perspective on this. A friend of mine actually appeared on Too Hot to Handle, on one of the earlier editions, and she had on her Instagram, I think it was something like 2,500 followers before the launch, and little, I think about a week, just over a week later, she'd hit 1 million.
Yes, wow, that's mad.
So it was just insane. I'm not suggesting that might happen, but it just shows you when people get behind things, it really can be exciting. So I've got to ask you, how did it all come about that you were going to make this documentary? Was it a documentary company that approached you, or did you want to do this, or how did that come about?
Yeah, so it wasn't something we had ever imagined was going to happen to us or the business. We always joked in the office, like everything that happens in here, we should have our own TV show. But
there's quite a lot of drama in the office.
It was never anything that we thought would actually become a reality. It was always just like a kind of a laughy comment that we would make.
Yeah.
So we were approached from IWC in May 2021. They actually started off saying it was going to be a docuseries. Now it is actually a reality TV show. So the kind of concept has changed a little bit. But we spent about a year in the kind of development process with them. We spent a lot of time with the team members. They spent time in the office. They spent time with like each individual kind of character that's in it. They came to parties and things with us just to get a feel for what the business is.
They got to know all the influencers as well, like on a more personal level, like they spoke to them individually and things like that as well. So it's not just necessarily about Amy and I, there's also like a big team of influencers that feature heavily in it too. So they really wanted to get to know everyone and see how we all work together before going ahead with it.
Yeah. So when they were discussing the docuseries, they thought this maybe works better as a kind of reality TV show. So in March 2022, we got sign off on the pilot. So we filmed the pilot episode, which was really good. We filmed that for 2 weeks, and then it was just a bit of a waiting game to find out the next steps, to find out if we were going to get the series done. And then the series finally got signed off for BBC Scotland, and we started filming that in July.
Wow. And of course, obviously they will produce a whole load of content and use less than they need. I mean, I can't remember what it is, but it's like 4 hours worth of content for like a minute on screen or something, isn't it?
No, it's mad. Like we were filming so much, weren't we, over the summer, and they were up here and it was like long days because we were doing our actual job at the same time as well. So it was quite intense.
Yeah, it was an intense period of time, but it'll all be worth it when it's on everyone's screens.
Well, I think what's interesting is that, to be honest, the influencer marketing industry, and I'm somebody that's a beacon of support and promoting its value, but not everybody sees it like this. And that's largely driven by ignorance. They think that it's very easy for an influencer to just, go out, they go to all these amazing parties, they go overseas, they just take a couple of selfies and then people pay them a whole load of money. So you being able to uncover and share exactly what goes on behind the scenes, I think will be fascinating to see. And I would imagine that you'll get some really great reaction from people. Probably more people want to work in the industry as a result of it.
We feel like it's not really been touched upon. Like even like my aunties and stuff will be like, what do you do for a job? Like kind of people just don't understand it or aren't like involved in this industry. Obviously Amy and I are so heavily involved in it and know the day-to-day running, so that is one of the most exciting things for when the show comes out that we are personally looking forward to, is everyone not asking us, what do you do for a job, how's that a job? All those questions that come up day to day. So no, that is definitely an exciting part of it for everyone to see what really goes on.
Exactly. It's like the lives of influencers and then the lives of the people that work in the influencer marketing industry that do manage the influencers.
And so what was your background before you started this?
So Amy and I worked for a fashion company at their head office within Glasgow. So how it all started was this fashion company had a store in Glasgow city centre. It was in a big shopping centre, and we did like store events for bloggers. This was about
7 years ago.
7 years ago. So we both went to the same uni actually, but there's 5 years between us. And then I started off the social media for this brand. So that just shows you. So a long time ago, social media wasn't even a thing for companies then. And then it was obviously growing fast and developing and things like that. So Amy came along to the store party as a blogger herself. Yeah. She had a blog.
So at that point, it wasn't being an influencer and posting reels and TikToks. It was nothing like that. It was, I actually had a WordPress page and like a website, and I would write blog posts on my outfits and I would link them. And it was like writing articles, kind of like journalism in a way.
Yeah.
So I went along to the party for the fashion brand. Kirsten invited me along. I did my blog post and we were chatting away at the time. I actually had a job in social media for a fake tan brand based in Glasgow as well. And Kirsten was really developing the team at the fashion brand at the time. She was looking for a social media assistant. So she says, you should come in for an interview. The next week I went in, interviewed, got the job, and Kirsten was my boss for a few years.
That's fantastic.
We worked together and really grew and developed this marketing team ourselves kind of within that. It was a big fashion brand, and we developed it quite well, and then we just felt like we could do this on our own. Like, we're doing so much for this huge brand. Like, the only person above us really was the CEO, so we really went for it, and then we're like, it's time.
Yeah, exactly.
To go on our own. And we got some confidence from like brands coming to us and saying, oh, can you help us with our influencer management? Can you help us with our social media? And then we did get quite good brands to start with, so it kind of gave us that confidence just to leave and go for it on our own.
Exactly, because we got into the industry at the time where it was just beginning. There was never anyone who had more experience than us that could guide us along the way. It was us just finding our feet and kind of learning ourselves and just making it up as we went along in a way.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, of course. It's one of those industries which has become organically massive. And maybe that's because it hasn't been hugely regulated. It lends itself to a very entrepreneurial way of life, isn't it? So when did you actually start the business?
So we started it in February 2020, so it's our 3rd birthday this month.
Oh my goodness, it's not that far away then, really, is it? No, and here you are with your own TV show, so that's going to be it's going to be really exciting. And what were the perhaps some of the challenging parts of it? What were the things that you thought, oh, I'd rather not the TV people not being here? Were there any moments that came out of that?
Yeah, to be honest, what you'll see in the first 2 episodes is we're planning one of the biggest events we've ever done. So it was a fashion and beauty festival based in Glasgow. No one had ever done anything like this before. It was the first of its kind of here. So again, we did get some like comments like, what is this? What's an influencer festival? Like some negativity surrounding it. Again, like you said, ignorance. So like, we really wanted to show people what it was and like get really behind this. So that was very stressful because we were obviously planning all that, the largest event we've ever done, and we were like filming at the same time, like long hours. So that was quite a stressful time. Yeah, very intense. Another intense thing that we had to go through while filming as well was Kirsten was pregnant the full process.
Oh my goodness.
Very heavily. I think I filmed like 5 days before I gave birth, and then literally right after I gave birth. So
was that presumably that all added to the story? And
it ended up being
a key part of the story.
It was a great story. So while we were planning, in episodes 5 and 6, we went to Ibiza on an influencer trip.
Yeah.
So I had one of the crews with me in Ibiza, and then Kirsten had one of the crews with her in Perth Hospital.
Yeah.
So
it was like 2 different worlds. I always laugh. I was like in a business suit in one scene, and then I'm in a bubble bath giving birth in the next.
Well, of course, you've Eloise was telling me you've seen the episodes as well, which isn't always the case on reality TV. You know, you get and sometimes it can be edited in such a way that can actually create a slightly different narrative. But I mean, the good thing by what you're saying is you feel, you know, proud of the way that it's been portrayed, because you know, and you know, what we want as viewers at the end of the day, we want an honest insight. You know, stuff goes wrong with influencer campaigns. It does. And
Exactly.
actually, one of the things that hopefully we'll see is how much communication goes on between you guys and the influencer is a lot, isn't it? Backwards and forwards, and getting the posts and the stories approved before they're released from the brand, and I don't know if that's coming up as well, but those are all very important parts, aren't they?
All that goes on behind the scenes. I think people just literally think they whack up a photo and that's it, done. But there's so much like back and forth, negotiating the rate, like negotiating the campaign. Like the brand can have so many edits, like they can say, no, I actually don't like that, don't like this. Girls got to go back and reshoot also. It's not just like as easy as it seems. And a lot of our girls are actual models on the same hand as well. So they're modeling all day, then they're going home and shooting again for brands and getting their content in. And so it is, I mean, it's not the hardest job in the world, but they do put a lot into it, time and effort. So
of course. Yeah. Did you have any new client wins at all during the series? Did that come up at all, or was it working largely with existing ones?
To be honest, it was working with existing ones.
No, we brought
one
on
thing
at the start of the series. Remember, we brought on Abby and Molly, who are like two of the largest influencers within Scotland. So we were really keen to get them, and we're so happy to have them on board, because I feel like that really positions us as like being the largest Scottish influencer agency, because now we've got like all the biggest kind of girls on our books.
Yeah, that actually follows them joining the agency, us introducing them to the rest of the girls, them coming in for their first kind of meeting in the office and things like that.
That's actually in the first episode. So
is it?
It shows their journey and how we help them, like challenges they overcome and like successes and wins for them. So it shows that throughout the full series. So
another thing I was going to ask you about, you know, campaigns don't always fly in the way that the brand wants them to. You know, there is this thing, oh, well, actually, if I have one post and I'm paying this amount of money, how many sales am I going to generate? And you know, sometimes we as an industry have to remind people that actually it isn't a silver bullet. You know, just as you may know your brand, the influencer's audience to this brand is going to see it for the first time, and it needs to take up. So, I mean, you know, did you manage to talk about sort of, you know, what happened for an influencer if a particular post or story didn't work as well as they would have hoped, you know?
We don't actually touch that much in depth, but that is something that we do talk about often in the office in general as well. Like one thing that we strongly believe in now is not just the one post. Like we like the girls to work with brands with like longevity, so a 3-month retainer, so that they are posting about it consistently, and it's something that they really, really do believe in. We always say to the girls, please do not accept jobs if you would never use this product, because your followers will see right through it. It'll then result in kind of less engagement, less trust, and result of that, you're going to get less work as well.
That's the same. Like we always say to them, stick to the one brand. Like stick to the brand you love. Like there's millions of fake tanning brands out there, example, who all want to work with our girls, but we're like, that just doesn't come across right. Like you can't be wearing one fake tan next week and one the next. Stick to the one you love. Build that good relationship with the brand, and like that'll shine through for you and your followers.
Absolutely right. And I think one of the things I always say is that what we should be doing is saying to the girls, they would have bought that product anyway if they hadn't had a collaboration, you know, because then they feel that you can see it, can't you? You can see it in their storytelling more than anything else. So very exciting then. Have you had a launch party? Are you going to have one at all, or
next weekend?
Next Sunday, so we're having a bit of a premiere. So we've got a private cinema booked in Glasgow. We're all going to get really dressed up, kind of red carpet attire. We're going to watch the first 2 episodes. And then have an after party, a Q&A,
Oh, exciting. Oh,
all the questions.
What, sorry?
So people can ask us all the questions.
Yeah. Well, of course, things will pop out as a result of it, you know. And I was going to ask you, how did the influencers feel about being filmed? Did that? I'm probably thinking they loved it, but
they absolutely loved it. They come across quite natural as well on stream, because they're so used to talking to like their vlogging cameras, like talking on their Insta stories and stuff like that. So they loved it, and it comes naturally to them, really, being behind the camera.
Of course. Yeah. So how many people have you got in the team overall that would it like work on the business in the business?
So there's actually 9 members of staff that work on the business, and then we've got 20 influencers, and then the other side of the business, we manage brands as well. So we've also got 20 brands that we look after.
Great. Wow. So, I mean, the future's really exciting for you, and I'm sure this series is going to catapult you further. What's the plan for the future?
To be honest, we just want to keep expanding. We feel like we have covered Scotland now, so we want to really move into England and key cities like London and Manchester, and then expand out with the UK and kind of key cities like
we
New
want
York,
to be known
Dubai.
on like a global scale. That's our aim. That's our.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. You mentioned Dubai. So I'm about to launch a new podcast just for the Arabian market on influence.
Really?
Yeah, so we should definitely stay in contact. I do love. I only have been to Dubai for the first time recently, but I really loved it, and they want to make it an influencer centric place. So I think having your eyes set on Dubai is a good suggestion.
We're both just back as well.
We love it.
Sorry?
We're both just back from Dubai as well.
Oh, really? Oh, where did you stay?
We stayed on West Beach.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, there's so many. Yeah, I know the Palm. There's so many hotels there, aren't there? It's like a mega important. Yeah. Well, look, I wish you all the best from the series. I can't wait to watch it. And I hope that everything plays out in the way that you want it to. And hopefully we'll meet again soon, eh?
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us on.
Speaking with you.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. And if you like this episode, please do give us a review, as it really makes a difference to us. If you want help in creating an influencer marketing strategy, or you want to join the Influencer Marketing Roundtable event, then just head over to gordonglenister.com. Thanks as always to my producer, Neil Whiteside from Freedom One. And until next time, from me, Gordon Glenister, it's bye for now.